Olivia, I'm back. I'm home. Upon calling out like that, I immediately noticed something was amiss. Huh? Her face was pale, and she seemed different from usual. I called her name multiple times and lightly tapped her cheek, but Olivia didn't move and was limp. What should I do? Olivia, Olivia. I think I will never forget this moment for the rest of my life. My name is Amelia. I'm 27 years old and gave birth to my long-awaited first child just a month ago. My husband's name is Mason. He is 3 years older than me, 30 years old. I once was obsessed with an online game, and I met Mason at a meetup for that game. We got married a year ago. Our child is a girl, named Olivia. My daughter, who took a whole day from the start of labor pains to birth, is so adorable that I completely forgot all the pain I went through. All right. Hello, it's here. Let's continue with the game today. Mason, holding a controller, talks to the screen. In fact, Mason is a YouTube gaming streamer. Wah! Sheet, so noisy. Mason, who was cheerfully talking to the screen a moment ago, grimaced and clicked his tongue as soon as he heard Olivia's crying. You don't have to say it like that. Crying is a baby's job, right? Huh? Crying is their job. Ha, I wish I had such an easy job. Babies have it good since they get everything by just crying. If you say so, Mason, why don't you find a proper job and fulfill your role? Then I might respect you a bit more. Shut up, I'm still working my way up. One day, I'll become a super famous streamer on YouTube and earn a lot of money. Watch your tone with me. Mason suddenly quit his job right after discovering I was pregnant. Only once, one of his videos on YouTube reached 50,000 views, and it seemed that success prompted him to decide to make a living as a streamer. However, only that video reached 50,000 views. The rest hardly get any views, averaging a few hundred views each. Becoming a famous streamer seems far-fetched. Mason, stop dreaming all the time and think more about our family. We have to properly raise our child, you know. I get that games are fun, I used to enjoy them too. But hobbies need to remain hobbies. Even as I tried to soothe the crying Olivia, I conveyed these thoughts, but Mason was too engrossed in his game to notice. You used to be so understanding. Ever since the baby was born, you've changed. While his hands were busy with the game and his eyes glued to the screen, Mason's mumbled words reached me. Indeed, I once loved gaming, even losing track of time until dawn. However, I never considered abandoning everything for it. Mason, on the other hand, had his priorities skewed. Ignoring his comment, I continued to comfort Olivia and entered the bedroom. Our current living was a tight balancing act between our savings and the little money Mason made from his part-time job twice a week. Our savings were depleting steadily. Despite wanting to be with Olivia, I had decided to return to work early. While I was away, Mason would take care of her. But I was filled with anxiety about leaving Olivia with the nonchalant Mason. Take care of Olivia, okay. Yeah, I got it. After getting myself ready, I conveyed that to Mason, who was in the middle of his game. Seriously? Do you even get it? The formula milk is here, diapers there. I've left instructions on how to make it with the milk powder here, so follow them. And change her diapers properly. Arg. Because of you talking, I lost. I don't care about that. You have to look after her properly, or I won't be able to return to work. Whether it was due to the game over or realizing the gravity of the situation, Mason finally put down the controller. You're so naggy. I said I'd do it, didn't I? Taking care of a child is easier than the boss in this level. Even though Mason's comparison of childcare to a game annoyed me, I decided to trust him. With that, I handed over Olivia and headed to work. I was a nurse. My workplace hasn't changed much since I took my leave. Everyone greeted me warmly upon my return. After work, I came home to find Olivia sleeping soundly. Mason boasted that there weren't any problems, and I sighed with relief. At that moment, I felt confident in leaving Olivia with Mason. Several days passed since my return to work. I'm on the night shift today, so please take care of Olivia. Leave it to me, have a good shift. Today was my first night shift since giving birth. I bade Olivia farewell and left the house. By now, I had left Olivia with Mason multiple times and felt sure that even with a night shift, everything would be fine. After my tiring shift, I returned home. Despite the early morning, I could hear the sound of a video game from the living room. I'm home. You're still awake? Well, I was recording a video. Mason answered without taking his eyes off the game screen. While I was somewhat exasperated, I turned my attention to the sofa and noticed Olivia sleeping there. I wished Mason would have put Olivia to bed properly. However, without saying anything to Mason, I leaned over and spoke to Olivia. Olivia, I'm home. But I soon realizes something is wrong. Huh? Olivia's face is pale, different from usual. I tried calling out Olivia's name multiple times and gently tapping her cheeks, but Olivia doesn't move at all. What should I do? Olivia, Olivia. In a panic, I quickly dialed 911. While holding Olivia, I follows the instructions of the arriving paramedics and rushes to the hospital. Thankfully, Olivia's life is saved, but she has to be hospitalized due to her critical condition. What happened? Amidst the chaos concerning Olivia, Mason continues to play his game without any reaction. When I returned home to get necessary items for the hospital, I confronted Mason about the situation. What happened while I was at work? Why is Olivia in this state? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I asked you to watch her, didn't I? If I had found her just a little later, she might have actually died. How could you just leave her on the sofa like that? Ah, you're so annoying. I never wanted a child in the first place. They are noisy and get in the way of my games. If Olivia was gone, it would be fine. We could just game together. Oh? How about we start a gaming channel as a couple? My anger towards Mason, who's making such outrageous statements, is uncontainable. To me, Olivia is the most precious thing, incomparable to any game. Yet, to Mason, games are evidently more important than his child. I am shocked by this stark difference in priorities. Mason lacks any sense of responsibility as a father. I never thought you'd be so careless about our child. At least tell me what happened while I was at work. I said I don't know. If you keep pestering me, I'll divorce you. I am frustrated with Mason's casual mention of divorce. I can't imagine building a good relationship with him anymore. My feelings for Mason have completely cooled. A few days into Olivia's hospitalization, Mason hasn't visited once. I spoke to my workplace about the situation and was granted leave. I stayed with Olivia throughout the hospital stay. And now, it's the day of Olivia's discharge. I held Olivia and headed back to the home where Mason was. Seeing Olivia and me, Mason didn't say much, and there was a subtly tense atmosphere. With Olivia's discharge from the hospital, I would likely have to return to work. But I can't leave Olivia with Mason any longer. At least until the truth comes to light. I decided to stay by Olivia's side. And, timing it for when Mason was at his part-time job, I took action. Mason always posts live streaming videos showing his face. He uses a webcam to record them. Thinking something might be captured on that camera, I turned on Mason's computer. There were so many videos from the same day that it was a challenge to find the one from the day Olivia lost consciousness and was hospitalized. I managed to find and play that video. What it showed was utterly shocking. At first, it was just Mason, happily playing a game. But as Olivia cried out, Mason's expression gradually darkened. When her crying reached its peak, Mason suddenly threw his controller on the floor and shouted, "So annoying. Can't you be quiet? I can't concentrate. Stupid kid." Saying that, Mason took some duct tape from the closet and stood in front of a crying Olivia. "If it weren't for you, I'd be doing fine. My views aren't increasing because you keep interrupting. Amelia is always nagging me about you. If it weren't for you, everything would be perfect." To my disbelief, Mason proceeded to tape Olivia's mouth shut. It's absolutely unthinkable for a father to silence his newborn baby just because she's noisy. Perhaps satisfied with the silence, Mason left Olivia alone and resumed his game. All the while, Olivia made muffled cries and moved her little limbs. But slowly, her movements became sluggish, and her cries fainted. "Olivia." Even though I knew it was a past event, I found myself shouting at the screen. If only I hadn't gone to the night shift, if only I hadn't trusted Mason, this wouldn't have happened. Even though it's too late for regrets, I wished I could turn back time and save Olivia. Once Olivia was completely unresponsive, Mason removed the tape from her mouth. The video continued to show me arriving home, picking up Olivia, and leaving. After watching the series of events, I was horrified by Mason's insane behavior. This clearly seemed like attempted murder. I had thought Mason was taking care of things while I was away. But now, I wondered if Mason had been abusive multiple times. With that in mind, I decided to watch all the recordings from when I was at work. The result was horrifying. There wasn't a single day Mason properly cared for Olivia. He would leave our crying child in the bedroom, and he didn't give her the baby milk. To pretend he did, he would throw the equivalent amount into the trash. Wah! Stunned, I watched the video. I heard Olivia's crying from the crib. I rushed over and picked Olivia up, her cries slowly fading until she began to snore softly. "I'm so sorry I didn't notice earlier." As I gazed at Olivia's sleeping face, tears streamed down my face. I murmured to myself, "There's a chance that someday, Mason might genuinely harm our child. I won't let that happen. I have to protect her." Holding Olivia, I took out my phone from my pocket and dialed a certain number. "I'm home." "Oh, I'm exhausted." Mason returned home from his part-time job. When he opened the door to the living room, there was a stranger. But he seemed to understand who the person was from his attire. "What? Why is there a police officer in my house?" "You know why, don't you? We'd like you to accompany us to the station on suspicion of child abuse." "Huh? Abuse? You've got to be joking. I didn't do anything." "Stop making false accusations. After all this evidence, how can you say you've done nothing?" Saying this, I pointed to Mason's computer. Noticing it, Mason's face turned pale and he let out a short scream. You saw everything, didn't you?" "I'm sorry, but we've reviewed everything. We'll be taking this data as evidence." Wait a minute. I haven't done anything. I really haven't. Please believe me." As Mason resisted, the police restrained him. "I can't continue with you anymore. Remember when you said you wanted a divorce after Olivia was hospitalized? Well, I feel the same way now. Goodbye. I only said that in the heat of the moment. I don't really want to get divorced. Please reconsider. I need you." I watched Mason, who was throwing a tantrum, as he was taken away in the police car with a cold gaze. In the end, Mason received a prison sentence for child abuse. I visited Mason in prison once, bringing the divorce papers. He looked like a broken man, having lost everything, his games and his future. He agreed to the divorce right then and there. I hope he can overcome his game addiction and live a decent life. I explained the situation to my parents and decided to return to our family home with Olivia. My parents, who were furious at Mason, warmly welcomed us back home. They adore Olivia and say she's the apple of their eye. Surprisingly, since coming home, Olivia no longer cries at night. When we were living with Mason, she used to cry frequently at night, but now she seems very stable. Perhaps, in her own baby way, Olivia sensed that Mason didn't think of her as a precious daughter. "I'm sorry. It must have been tough for you. But from now on, I promise I won't let you suffer like that again. I will protect you." As I stroked the hair of my peacefully sleeping child, I made that firm resolution.